We're going to kick off level 8 with something very, very useful, which is how to express to happen in Spanish. And the verb that they use is actually pasar, to pass. So they use pasar, meaning to happen. For example, if we wanted to say in the present tense, it happens, then you would say pasa, pasa. If you wanted to say it's happening, with that ing, it changes, it sounds more natural to say está pasando. Here we have, remember, this ando and yendo tense to express this ing. So pasa would be it happens, and está pasando would be happening, it's happening with the ing. So for example, how would you say or ask, what's happening? ¿Qué está pasando? ¿Qué está pasando? What's happening? How would you say, I don't know what's happening? No sé qué está pasando. Now, if we wanted to say, it happens to me, now this is not an ing, right? So we're going to use pasa. So how would you say that it happens to me? Me pasa. Me pasa. Why does it always happen to me? Porque siempre me pasa. It happens to me often. Me pasa frecuentemente. It happens to me all the time. Me pasa todo el tiempo. It never happens to me. Nunca me pasa. If we wanted to use it as a dot in the past, which you will use a lot, it happened, dot. Then it becomes pasó with this accent over the O. So pasó is it happened as a dot. How would you say it happened to us? Nos pasó. It happened to them. Les pasó. It happened to him. Le pasó. It happened to you. Te pasó. It happened to us once. Nos pasó una vez. So vez is time, and it's a feminine word. So una vez is how they express once. Nos pasó una vez. It happened to us a few times. Nos pasó unas veces. This is how they express a few times. We've done this before. Unas veces. Now, the word for before, do you remember that? Antes. Antes. How would you say it never happened to us before? Nunca nos pasó antes. Literally, never. It happened to us before. Antes. How would you say it never happened to me? Nunca me pasó. To express the first time, it would be la primera vez. La primera vez. How would you say it's the first time it happened to me? Remember, in here, it's being implied that it happened to me. And while we don't put it in English, you do in Spanish. So how would you say that? It's the first time it happened to me. Es la primera vez que me pasó. To say the second time, it would be la segunda vez. La segunda vez. How would you say it's the second time it happened? Es la segunda vez que pasó. The third time is la tercera vez. La tercera vez. How would you say it happened to me today for the third time? But don't put in the. in Spanish they leave it out. So how would you say it happened to me today for the third time? Me pasó por tercera vez hoy. Or you could also put the hoy up front here. So hoy me pasó por tercera vez. Now, why did we use por? Well, because this is referring to that thing where we have anything to do with maths and times, things like that. So first time, for the second time, for the third time. This all takes por and not para. So it happened to me, me pasó. For the third time, they would say for third time, por tercera vez hoy. How would you say it happened on my birthday? If you don't remember the word for birthday, it's cumpleaños, cumpleaños. So how would you say that? It happened on my birthday. Pasó en mi cumpleaños. This is on my birthday. It's funny how birthday in Spanish is plural, cumpleaños. I guess it's to accumulate years. You can see the word años here. So accumulation of years, cumpleaños. Let's go into a line past now, and we want to express something like it was happening. So that would be pasaba. Pasaba. How would you say it was happening a lot? Pasaba mucho. It was happening to me like that all the time. Me pasaba así todo el tiempo. It was happening all the time that we were there. So in English, we might leave the that out again, but it's implied, so you have to put it in Spanish. How would you say that? Pasaba todo el tiempo que estábamos allí. Here we're talking about location, which forces us into estar, but there's no measurable time frame given, right? So therefore, we choose a line. Estábamos allí. We have two lines actually, pasaba and estábamos, both lines in the past. How would you say it wasn't happening while I was there? And be explicit here with the I. No pasaba mientras yo estaba allí. Maybe some of you forgot while, that's mientras. So it wasn't happening, no pasaba, while I was there. Mientras yo estaba allí. So being able to talk about what happened or is happening or happened, right, is very useful in everyday conversation. And on this slide, I've kind of put a summary together for you. So to express it happens, it's simply pasa. For example, I don't know why it happens to me. No sé por qué me pasa. It passes over me almost, right? Pasa. So this is with happens. But in other examples, you can say happening. For example, what's happening now? Then you go into this ando sound. So, está pasando. I don't know what's happening. No sé qué está pasando. So in the present tense, you can choose between pasa or está pasando. Then for dot in the past, it happened. Pasó, ending with the o. And this is probably the one that you'll use the most, talking about things that happened. Pasó. But there's also occasions when you use it was happening. Okay, so setting the scene and telling a story, it was happening this way. And then that goes into the aba sound, so we have pasaba. So you have pasa, está pasando, pasó, and pasaba. This should cover you pretty much for every instance of when you're going to be using or talking about, that word happens or happening, happened, was happening, all of that stuff. It's really very, very useful.